Hey everyone, welcome back to In a Pinch. I'm Chris, and today we're talking about, will we focus? We will focus, Tre Ankare Vit Portions by Swedish Match. The reason I chose this to open up my my snus review series, excuse me while I take a sip of coffee, because coffee and tobacco were just meant to play together. The reason I chose this one was because this was the one, after I quit using snus a few years ago, that I was always left wondering, would I have liked that? It was tobacco-centric. It was on my list for the whole time I was using snus to try, and I just never got around to it. I think the reason being that it was a portion, and like I said before, I was really into loose, and was really leery about portions. I still can't really remember why, but I was pretty hardcore anti-portion. I was all loose. So naturally, on my first order getting back into snus, I thought, what exactly does Tre Ankare taste like? Do I like it? Yes, I do. Quick blurb on the can. Super basic can. Tre Ankare with the 3 anchors up top, Vit Portions. If I'm pronouncing any of that incorrectly, somebody please correct me. I am trying to get more intelligent about this. Swedish is just not a language I'm very familiar with. But I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Tre Ankare Vit Portions. 3 anchors, white portion, and then up the top you have the 3 stars and the Swedish Match logo. Going around the tin, nothing too exciting. Tre Ankare Vit with the 3 anchors, Tre Ankare Vit with the 3 anchors, Tre Ankare Vit with the 3 anchors. Here you have large. If it'll focus? It'll focus. Large because they also put this out in a mini portion. The large is not a large portion. The large is an original portion in white. Confused yet? I hope you're not. And then coming around finally to the Gothiatech standard. As you guys can see, in my very first snus review, I managed to just shit on one of the fundamental rules on reviewing snus. I am reviewing a tin that's already open. I went through my first tin of it and decided that it was going to be something I reviewed, and then I was holding on to this one to review first. For the aforementioned reasons, and yesterday I pulled it out after I put up the reintroduction video, and I intended to record this video last night, and kids came over, and bonfires were had, and it got late, and it was just too late to put the video up, or to record the video, so I found myself cracking the second can early. But this is a fresh can. It was produced July 5th, so 2 days after our 3rd child was born, and it expires 5 days before my birthday at the end of the year, so it's still fresh. Just took it out of the fridge yesterday, still a good can. It's good stuff. Quick blurb, I guess this was the first portion snus the Swedish Match ever put out, somewhere in the 70s. I should have done some research before coming on here, but somewhere in the 70s, Swedish Match released this as their first portion snus. It's tobacco-centric. There are no additional flavors. It is not a traditional snus in the sense that there's no bergamot added. Being tobacco-centric and unflavored, though, with the exception of liquid smoke, which is added to the 3 anchors. I'll work on that, guys. I really will. With the exception of the liquid smoke, the humectants, and the pH adjusters, and the salt, it's just showcasing good tobacco. Anywho, oh yeah, of course, Swedish Match. So you got the large catch lid. I can't tell you how many I could fit in there because I can usually find my way to the garbage can somewhere inside of 3 or 4 portions. I can find my way to a garbage can and scoop them out. But you can fit quite a few in there. And upon opening it, of course, if I hadn't been such an impatient bastard, you would see the beautiful traditional Swedish Match white portion star formation, but I am such a jerk, I do apologize. The portions, of course, come out wedged, so you gotta fluff them a little bit. And I'm gonna set this aside, and I'm gonna talk about tin note before I pop it in my mouth, because sometimes having something in your mouth while you're smelling it affects the smell. The tin note, it's like a somewhere that falls between a medium and a dark tobacco, and I could just be getting the impression because of liquid smoke. It could just be a solid medium, but to me it falls somewhere between medium and dark tobacco with a sweetness and something that smells a little bit like dried berries to me. Not like in the sense of having a dried berry smell, but in the same way that the Rhoda Locket had that smell of dried berries in the loose format. I never tried the Rhoda Locket portion format, but I know that the loose format, there was something in there, and I'm sure it's some byproduct of the fermentation process that gives you the impression of dried berries. Anyways, so plucked out a portion, pop it in. I'll go to the left side. Alright, now of course I'm not going to do this review in real time because nobody wants to watch me babble on for half an hour. I have a hard enough time. But I did make some notes, and every single portion was consistent through the first can and now halfway into the second can. So I can kind of just go through my notes that I took. First popping it in, a little bit of leather, a little bit of salt, not a whole lot going on yet. It is very much a white portion. About 5 minutes in, the flavor does explode, and I've had white portions that take the better part of 20 minutes before you really taste anything. This isn't like that. It moistens up pretty quick inside of 5 minutes, forms really nice inside the lip, and the flavors just explode from there. And what I get is leather, a sweet dark tobacco, and kind of almost a taste of, not the taste of dirt, but it tastes like wet soil smells, if that makes any sense. If this were a cigar, I would compare this to maybe the Perdomo Grand Cruz. If this were a snuff, I would compare this to Viking Brown. I put it in that line. If this were a pipe tobacco, I would compare this to it's not quite as dark. I'm not sure what I compare this to in a pipe tobacco. Maybe a less spicy triple play, GLP's triple play. Yeah, no, that's perfect actually. Yeah, a less spicy GLP's triple play. If I were to compare this to a pipe tobacco, which tells me that there is a pretty good burley content in this snus. I still have no idea what strains of tobacco are used in snus. I know that with snus there is a steam curing instead of a fire curing, and I know that with snus there is a different fermentation process. And because of that, I can't identify the tobaccos as well. But because this falls in the same line as triple play and Viking Brown, then this definitely is burley heavy as far as tobacco strains go. But yeah, the salt is there and fairly heavy, and I want to touch on that for a minute because I have to apologize. I just saved you guys from what probably would have been 10 minutes talking about pH levels and nicotine bioavailability. If you guys are interested, I'll do a second video on that. I'm really into chemistry. It's kind of a thing with me. I get sidetracked with that a lot. Anywho, so yeah, 5 minutes, all of that comes in, and that's pretty much what you have going on for the duration of it. People have brought up getting an herbal taste out of it. I don't. I could see how I'm interpreting what other people are interpreting as herbal, as being that tasting like fresh soil smells. But I don't specifically get anything out of it that I would call herbal. I don't actually get very much smoke out of it, although I know that liquid smoke is added. It's right there in the ingredients. But that's not something that I personally get. I get leather and soil and pepper and salt. That's what I get. At about 20 minutes, it does all start to kind of fade, and the sweetness that was there gets replaced with a little bit more pepper. And then you're left with the pepper and the soil, and that's just kind of what you have. It doesn't really start to peter out altogether until about 45 minutes in, but I still find myself keeping these portions in for a couple hours before sticking a new one in. And nicotine-wise, despite the fact this is at an original strength, I find this every bit as satisfying as the Starks I've started getting into, at least the Labo 2 Slim Stark. Speaking of nicotine content, I'll give you guys some numbers here I wrote down. So these cans have 21.6 grams of snus per can, and there are 24 portions in the can, of course being Swedish Match, which means there are 0.9 grams of tobacco in each portion, 9/10 of a gram in each portion. The nicotine is rated as 8 milligrams per gram, being that there's 9/10 of a gram or 0.9 grams per portion. That means you're getting 7.2 milligrams of nicotine per portion. And again, I'll stop myself from going off about pH values and free base nicotine and bioavailability. But I can tell you that even though 7.2 milligrams sounds kind of low in nicotine, I find it quite satisfying. And if like it's been said, people fall in the love it or eh category with this stuff, there'll be at least one log of this on my next order for sure. I could use this every day. I enjoy it quite a bit. And for anyone crossing over from dip, or if you're just getting into snus and you have a taste for medium to full-bodied cigars, think early day Perdomos, think any of the Don Pepins, the Tatuajes. If you like any of those, this is a snus that you would heavily enjoy. That's really all I have to say on it. It's really good stuff. I hope you guys enjoy this review. Again, I'll be playing around with the format a little bit, and I'll be working to make these videos a little bit shorter. If you guys have any input at all, you can comment below. You can leave a comment somewhere on one of the threads, or you can email me, and I do respond to emails pretty quickly unless stuff comes up. The email is listed in the description, boxandpipe@gmail.com. I'm really excited about how the fall looks for this channel and all the things to come. And part of that probably will be updating. Well, it'll have to be updating the software for the webcam. I'm considering getting a new webcam. Money's a little tight, but we'll see how that goes. So anyways, guys, as always, thanks for watching. God bless and salute.